Hey guys, we're starting a new series this week on heaven and hell, and discussion groups should be pretty simple this week. We're actually going to take this Sunday and just answer the question, why will we do a series on heaven and hell? Why is this important? Why should I be engaged? And so we're going to spend the whole Sunday trying to answer that question. It's really kind of an introductory week, and you'll pick up on that in discussion questions as well. So they should be pretty easy to roll through this week. Question number one is I'll mention in the large group lesson that I can't remember. I've been in church my whole life. I can't remember ever having a series specifically dedicated to heaven and hell, or either one individually, and just poll the students and see if they can remember a series or a series maybe close to that's been dedicated to the two eternal destinies, or if this is kind of a totally new concept to everybody. So that's a quick question. Number two, which of those 8 reasons stood out to you most and why? I'm going to give 8 reasons why we are doing this series and why it's important, why it can be helpful, why they should be engaged. And so this is just gauging which one of those reasons resonated to them the most, which one of those reasons do they think is the most important. And so you could have several different answers here. Obviously, there's no right or wrong answer there. Number 3 builds off of that a little bit. Can you think of any reasons why a series like this is important and worth being engaged in? And so this is their opportunity to add on to that list of 8, racking their own brains of why this is a subject we should cover in church, why this is a subject that they should be engaged in and interested to learn about. I'll kind of nod to this question a couple times in the large group lesson, telling them that I'm listing 8, but there's probably a lot more than that that they will get a chance to take a stab at in discussion groups. And so you can think of some of those yourself as well. I think there's probably a long list that we could compile together. Number 4, what are all the reasons that you think it is challenging for us to live with a regular awareness of the realities of heaven and hell? I think that's true of almost all Christians that we have. I'll mention in our lesson, heaven and hell in the very back of our minds. It's not that we necessarily don't believe in them, but we almost act as if we don't believe in them because it's so far back in our thinking. And I'll say I think there's a lot of reasons that is true, and that'll kind of set you guys up for discussion groups. I've listed a couple reasons for you here. I think there's probably more than that. It's hard to think about eternal things. It's hard for us to just comprehend the eternal. And so it's easier to just shove that at the back of our minds. It's hard to think about hell, especially when it comes to people we know and the people we love. I think for heaven, we really struggle to picture what heaven is going to be like. We have such a fuzzy and maybe even inaccurate picture of what heaven will be like that we choose to look forward to and daydream about things on earth instead, because we just can't grasp or picture what heaven will be like. And I think it's just easy for us to get distracted with the immediate and what's going on around us and never look. If we look to the future, it's just going to be a little bit in the future of our lives here, not into eternity. And again, I think there are more reasons than that you can come up with, or that students can come up with. So you can hit that question. And then the last 2, number 5, is I want you guys to try to put together a list of everything that you guys think that you already know about heaven and hell. And they could be right or wrong. It doesn't really matter. Just throw that question out, and everything that you think you already know about what heaven is like, what hell is like, list that. I would maybe do these one by one. So say, what all do we think we know about heaven, and make that list, and then say, what all do we think we know about hell, and make that list. And then at the end, maybe just throw out a quick question of which of the 2, heaven or hell, do you feel like you know more about? Which one of you have a clearer picture of what that will be like? Which of the 2 do you feel kind of most confident, most comfortable in what you already know about them? And then the last question is really important, so make sure you get here. I really want to cover this this question, and I really want to report on this question, which is what questions do our students have about heaven and hell? Again, I would probably treat them separate and say, what questions do you have about heaven? What all would you like to know about heaven? What are you curious about? And then switch over, what all would you like to know about hell? What questions would you like answered? This is part of, I'll mention in the large group lesson that it could be a 4-week series, it could be a 5-week series, it could be a 6-week series, and part of that depends on this question. So it's really important we get here. I'm considering doing just a questions week at the end of the series, kind of taking any questions students come up with here that don't actually get answered in the regular teaching, and breaking some of those down in a final week. But that's obviously dependent on if that actually happens. If we get enough questions that I'm not already planning to address that I think are worth addressing, then we'll throw in that extra week. If not, then maybe we won't. This could also help shape some of our lessons that they're obviously not formed in concrete yet, and so I can add, make sure I address a particular question on heaven or hell that one of our students or even one of our leaders brings up and says, I think this would be important for us to cover. So spend some good time thinking on that. Give them, ample time to think and brainstorm and take time to themselves to think and come up with good questions, and encourage them. Tell them that this is actually going to be used in this series, that there's the potential that we'll take a whole Sunday and answer some of these questions. So this is not just like a trying to fill time at the end of discussion groups question. This is something that will actually get used. And so encourage them to engage on that. And that's all you got. So pretty straightforward week in discussion groups. I'll see you guys on Sunday.